X marks the spot for the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. The podcast that hopes Democrats don't Obama-size Medicare. He thinks Peaky Blinders is a very silly name for a show. It's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Well, guess what's going on right now? Right now, it's Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you to Drew McMillan, my Canadian nephew, for that beautiful introduction. Almost brings a tear to my eye, unless he said something really crass, in which case it didn't bring a tear to my eye at all. This is Doug Jones, your Medicare expert, and I am so happy to have you here with us today. We're talking about Medicare. We're hoping to imbue the listening audience with the confidence that Medicare is not something scary, but it is, in fact, probably going to be an improvement in the insurance protection and an improvement in the cost that insurance protection is going to weigh in with. It's just the kind of thing that people are often afraid of when they think about having to consider Medicare in their future, and often with the proper guidance and a couple of relatively easy decisions, that fear can be held at bay, and the whole experience can be fairly positive, actually pretty positive, and it can be this positive for the rest of your life. So what do? We go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, and we purchase a copy of Medicare for the Lazy Man 2022. It's got green numbers on the cover telling you what year it is. And this book is available in either Kindle version or paperback version or hardcover for their first time. And they tell me within about 10 days, it's also going to be available as an audio book. So you can purchase any of those items, or, I would suggest getting one of each. That would be my suggestion. But, how often do people follow that? But if you were to sit down and read the book, you're going to find that it's going to take you somewhere between an hour and 3 hours, depending on how many drinks you pour for yourself during the course of your reading. But at the end of that book, you're going to have a clear understanding of what Medicare is all about. Typically, you're going to have a clear understanding of the decisions that you have to make, and that's not going to be very many decisions. And then you're also going to understand that you're going to need a person with an insurance license to help you acquire the insurance that you need to make sure that you're fully protected. That would be somebody like me. I help people every day in the acquisition of their Medicare insurance. And then at that point, you'll be able to go on your merry way and rarely ever think about Medicare again. At least that's the hope, assuming your health stays strong and your mental acuity is not affected by old age. Then you're going to have a long and happy association with Medicare. The person staring at me across the screen is a gentleman from Ireland who has come to the United States just to work on this podcast. And he makes it the best sounding podcast that I could ever envision. His name is Randy Carson, and he's going to join us right now. Hello, Randy.
I'm here.
Yes, you are. I've been feeling guilty because the last time when we first met, you and Margaret were in the preparation, in the throes of planning your trip to Ireland. That was in March of 2018. So
yes, it's been a while. It's been a while ago.
You've lost your accent. You've lost your brogue.
I know. I've been working here with the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast for so long. I've lost the Irish lilt.
I'm feeling guilty for having destroyed your vacation opportunities in the ensuing 4 years. And so if you guys want to take off for a while, I'll understand.
Okay. Well, we're definitely thinking about that next year. Right now, I still think it's a little bit too iffy, although if I got stuck in Ireland, for, I would, for an extended period. It wouldn't upset me any, but we can, as you know, we can work from Ireland. We worked with you guys from Ireland when we first got together.
Right.
So it's not impossible. We've done it. We've actually done it on a cruise across the Atlantic. Worked our program.
Well, how does one get good internet connectivity out in the middle of the ocean?
You go buy yourself a plan for internet access, and before you go on the ship, you basically sign an agreement that's the size of a mortgage, and then you try to get it closed before you go on the trip.
Holy,
it's not a cheap plan. Now, I would assume that over the course of time, the ship's technology has gotten better, but it's not something that you would anywhere close to compare to what we get here. But it is usable, and what we do is we kind of stack up everything we need to do, kind of at one time. So when we're logged in and online, we can take care of multiple things at the same time.
My understanding is Elon Musk is going to make that a problem of the past, that he's launching satellites like nobody's business that will eventually allow everybody. You can live in a mud hut in Africa and have excellent internet connectivity.
Yes, I believe that's true, and I'm all for Elon Musk doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Speaking of those little miniature internet satellites, I was reading an article before we got in the studio today. And there's a huge solar flare coming our way. It might have already hit. And those types of things tend to not be good for, satellites and electronics and this type of thing. There was one that hit a few years ago. It hasn't been too long ago. Let's say 2018. I don't know. It might have been before that or a bit after that. But that solar flare knocked 40 of his satellites out of orbit.
No kidding. So he was launching back then.
Yeah.
And when the flare knocked him out of orbit, was it like physical impact? The change.
Actually, it set it basically toasted the electronics, and then they didn't know what to do, and then they just fell out of orbit. And now people are using them for basketballs.
Oh, okay. Well, that's funny. People are so easily amused. I wouldn't even contemplate using a downed satellite as a basketball, but
they're just little tiny things. He sends them up, like by the gross. And, but anyway, to your point, that is his plan. Right now he's got, bless his heart, he's got a whole bunch of them deployed over Ukraine, so they can maintain their internet connectivity. And bottom line is, the guy, you can say what you can say about Elon Musk, but sometimes his heart's in the right place.
Yeah. Well, I know that he has some problems with the political party that has a firm grip on California. And so that's what caused him to relocate his whole operation to Texas. And frankly, I'm sure that he feels he's in a better place. And I would have to agree with that. A little more freedom. And when you have an inventive guy with a pocket full of cash who's doing something that's good for mankind, I think you want to give him his head. Let him work at it all he wants to.
Well, this is just my own personal feeling, but Texas compared to California, I'll take Texas any day of the week.
Absolutely. For everything but the weather. Well, some parts of California don't have fantastic weather either, but I love Texas. When we get to go there, I am always a happy camper. And may it ever be thus.
Absolutely. Hey, so I suppose we have to do some Medicare today.
There have been several episodes of our podcast during which I have offered you the opportunity to select a subject. And often I've laid out several opportunities, several possibilities, and you've selected one. The last one, I think, crashed and burned. And that was about whether pets can help you increase your brain power.
If I remember correctly, the guy that wrote the article was struggling mightily to spend some grant money.
Well, I think he was successful in spending the grant money, but he forgot to come up with a definitive conclusion. So
that's right.
That time might have been better used to, clean out your pantry or something. So I apologize for anybody that was disappointed with that. So let's launch into this one with back to a Medicare related subject. And the title of this article is 3 Ways to Avoid Being Rejected or Overcharged for a Medigap policy. Now, Medigap is exactly the same thing as Medicare supplement. Medicare supplement's the term I always use because it supplements Medicare. The word Medigap doesn't really mean anything unless you know that they're talking about Medicare supplement insurance policy. And that's what I sell to people who are entering Medicare, because if you are a person who is enrolling in Medicare Parts A and Part B, you're going to have coverage that is pretty good, but it's not anywhere near 100%. And I have been told that given the deductibles and the co-insurance amounts, the cost-sharing amounts that original Medicare can expose you to, that if everything that was possible to go wrong did go wrong during the course of a year, that a person without a Medicare supplement policy could possibly be raked over the coals to the tune of $900,000 in out-of-pocket expenses that are not covered by Medicare. Now, that would require that's a really a long shot, but the possible situation exists that somebody could be financially very hurt by having to meet the unpaid, the cost sharing in Medicare. So Medicare supplement is a very reasonably priced type of insurance that allows one to be protected against the worst case scenario of having huge medical expenses that are not completely covered by Medicare. So this article, 3 ways to avoid being rejected or overcharged for a Medicare supplement insurance policy. Knowing when to sign up can help you get the coverage you need. And this was written by Kimberly Lankford. And she's associated with an organization that I am not entirely comfortable with, but I'm hoping that the content in this article will make up for that. She is with ARP. And often ARP and I are at loggerheads as to political opinions. She wrote, even after you sign up for Medicare, you still have to pay deductibles and co-payments for hospital stays, doctor's visits, and other healthcare expenses. If you enroll in traditional Medicare, you can buy a Medicare supplement, better known as a Medigap plan. I would say it's not better known as a Medigap plan. It's also known as a Medigap plan. You can buy it from a private insurance company to help fill the gaps in Medicare. But there's a catch. If you don't get the policy within a certain time frame, insurers in most states can reject you or charge more because of pre-existing conditions. This limitation no longer exists for other kinds of health insurance, and by that they mean Obamacare for people under age 65. To avoid this, find out when you can sign up and whether you might encounter any difficulties based on your health. Take the following steps to get the coverage you need. And step number 1, sign up at the right time. You can purchase a Medigap or a Medicare supplement policy regardless of whether you have any pre-existing conditions, and that's known as a guaranteed issue right, during the following times. For 6 months, starting the month you sign up for Medicare Part B when you're 65 or older. You'll get the best price for any policy in your area based on your age, your sex, and your smoking status. Another opportunity is up to 63 days after you've lost job-based health insurance that's considered secondary to Medicare. If you or your spouse works for a company with fewer than 20 employees and you're 65 or older, your insurance is generally considered to be secondary to Medicare. Another opportunity during a trial enrollment period. If you sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan, when you first enroll in Medicare, you have up to 12 months to get out of that horrible situation, drop that plan, and switch to original Medicare. And then you can get any Medicare supplement policy that's sold in your area. And then there are 2 other times when it's ideal to buy your Medicare supplement. If you dropped a Medicare supplement plan to enroll in Medicare Advantage, and you discovered your error, the error of your ways, and you want to switch back to original Medicare, you have up to 12 months to get the same Medicare policy that you had before you took the Medicare Advantage plan. And finally, if you move out of your Medicare Advantage plan service area or your plan leaves the insurance business, you have now carte blanche to get the Medicare supplement of your choice at the best possible rate based on your age, your sex, and your smoking status. For more information about the times insurers can't charge more or reject you because of your health, see the CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Guide to Choosing a Medigap Policy. You can find a link to that on the Medicare for the Lazy Man website, or you can search for it on Google. It's Guide to Choosing a Medigap Policy. Number 2, know your state's rules. And this article says 3 states, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York, allow you to buy a Medicare supplement policy anytime, regardless of your health. The private companies that issue the policies also must charge everyone the same rate, regardless of age, and that's called community rating. In these states, you can start out with a Medicare Advantage plan and pay lower premiums. Later, if you develop a health condition and want to use doctors and hospitals that aren't in the plan's network, in other words, if you want to improve your coverage, you can dump the Medicare Advantage plan and switch to original Medicare and then get a Medicare supplement policy without having to pay more because of any pre-existing conditions. The state of Maine requires insurers to offer Medicare Supplement Plan A, which offers the least amount of coverage to anybody 65 or older, regardless of their health, for 1 month every year. The insurer decides which month. Maine also extends the Medicare Advantage trial period from 12 months to 36 months. That means you have up to 3 years to switch back to original Medicare if you have accidentally signed up for a Medicare Advantage plan. Several states allow people who already have Medicare supplement policies to switch plans at certain times of the year without requiring them to answer questions about their health. Insurers in most states can offer up to 10 different plans. Actually, it's 12 different plans, but who's counting? Each of those plans is labeled with a letter. Plans with the same letter include the same benefits, but the premium cost can vary. You may be able to save money by switching to a different letter plan or to a less expensive plan from a different insurer. In Oregon, you have 30 days after your birthday each year to switch to another Medicare supplement plan with equal or lesser benefit. In California, you have 60 days after your birthday every year to do so. Illinois residents age 65 to 75 starting this year will be able to switch to another policy with the same insurer with equal or lesser benefits for up to 45 days after their birthday. In Missouri, you have up to 30 days before and 30 days after the anniversary of your policy to switch to the same letter plan with a different insurer. In most states, insurance companies aren't required by law to issue Medicare supplement policies to people with pre-existing conditions. However, some insurers, such as Blue Cross Blue Shield in Illinois, do so anyway. People pay the same rates as anyone who is buying a policy during open enrollment. And I think they overlooked Utah and Idaho, 2 states that instituted the birthday rule in the year 2022. So I think the trend is to give people more freedom to move to less expensive coverage if they find that their coverage has gotten to be too expensive for them. One friend in Pennsylvania already had a Medicare supplement policy and wanted to switch to another plan with fewer benefits to save money. If she didn't have any health problems, the new plan each month would have cost $100 less than her current plan. But because she lives in a state that allows insurers to charge more for pre-existing conditions, and she uses an inhaler for a lung condition, the insurer wanted to charge $100 more than her current plan. The experience was very different for somebody else living in New York. That same company allowed a 90-year-old I know to switch plans for lower premiums. She didn't have to answer any questions about her health. To learn about your state's rules, your state health insurance assistance program can be found on the internet. It's SHIP. Most state insurance departments have Medicare supplement buyer's guides that explain the rules and may even list the premiums for each insurer. Number 3, shop for an insurer that will cover your condition. If you apply for a Medigap policy when you don't have guaranteed issue right, you'll usually have to answer questions about your health. Steve Jones, no relation, president of Cigna Supplemental Benefits, says insurers typically don't ask to see your medical records, but they usually ask about your prescription medications. Insurers may ask if a doctor treated you, gave you medical advice, or prescribed any medications for certain conditions in the last 2 years. That's called a 2-year look back. Having one of the following medical conditions in the past 2 years could increase the rate you'll pay or could knock you out of contention for getting a different Medicare supplement policy. That would be artery or vein blockage, atrial fibrillation, cancer, cardiomyopathy, chronic kidney disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, congestive heart failure, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis. Wow, I'm getting sick just reading this stuff. Insurers usually decline people who have COPD, lupus, or Parkinson's disease, or were recently diagnosed with cancer. This person says, I got confused. They have a hyphenated name with a lot of syllables. Other conditions, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol, may be acceptable, but you may have to pay a higher rate. You may also be asked whether a medical professional told you that you may need any of the following procedures: joint replacement, an organ transplant, cancer surgery, back or spine surgery, or heart, or you've been hospitalized in the past 90 days, or if you live in a nursing facility. However, timing and the nature of your medical condition are important. If you were diagnosed with cancer or had surgery a while back, you may still be able to buy a policy. Underwriting, pricing, and policy decisions vary considerably from one company to another. If a person had a knee replacement 8 months ago and is done with physical therapy, they will generally be accepted as long as they don't have any other health problem. Underwriting varies. By the way, as an aside, the term underwriting is basically risk assessment. So an insurance company uses underwriters and an underwriting procedure to measure the amount of risk a person might cause to the company. So depending on a person's health, Cigna may offer a lower, also called a preferred or a slightly higher standard rate. For major health issues, an insurer may offer different versions of a policy at a higher rate, or it may reject the applicant. If you're trying to get a Medigap policy when you don't have a guaranteed issue right and you have a pre-existing health condition, you might consider getting help from an independent agent who works with several companies and knows the underwriting criteria. It can avoid a lot of frustrations. This person says, I recently told a woman who has lupus that if she didn't get Medicare right out of the gate, there was a Medicare supplement, there was a good chance that she might not be able to get it in the future. So that would be the general description of 3 ways to avoid being rejected or overcharged for a Medicare supplement policy. And frankly, everything they say isn't accurate. It's just like reading a newspaper article about a situation that you're intimately familiar with. It is not always accurate, and you know of things that should not be expressed in the way they are expressed. But overall, if you have a reasonably good health, and if you have a Medicare supplement policy that is a little too expensive, like let's say you have a Plan F, and the rates on Plan F plans are going up and up and up faster than we think they should, then you might call an agent like me or send an email to the email address Randy's going to tell you in a few minutes, and I would be able to find out whether or not you could qualify for a much lower priced plan, including a really, really reasonably priced high deductible Plan F or a high deductible Plan G. So that's something to consider if you have had a Plan F for a long time and it's just getting to be way too expensive. There are solutions if your health is moderately or better, good, moderately sound or better than that. So that's all I have to say about Medicare supplement acquisition after the age of 65, Randy.
Well, that was a great story.
Gee, I could tell you were sound asleep for most of it.
Once upon a time in the Medicare land of Oz.
Far away.
In a land far, far away.
Actually, I did misspeak myself. That's not this. All this stuff we've been talking about doesn't just apply to people that are over 65. If you're under 65 and you have a Medicare supplement, once you turn 65, then you can get a different Medicare supplement if you want to, with no underwriting at all. It's like clean slate time.
Cool. I love clean slate time. Well, there's a couple, three, obviously there's several things that I always like to, end out each episode with because they're extremely important. Now, I want you to, take notes, grab a pencil.
Already.
Doug Jones sells insurance.
Okay.
There's always some confusion along the way because Doug is such a great author and he's written some great books. It doesn't occur to people sometimes that he actually is an agent with more years experience than most people could possibly imagine. So put that back on the back shelf. He's a great agent with a heck of a lot of experience, and you can contact him at dbj@mlmmailbag.com. You can get the new paperback, the 2022 version of the paperback at Amazon.com. And for a short period, we're going to have a special. The special is if you pay for 3 copies, you get 3 copies.
That's fantastic.
I know. Isn't that great?
Why didn't we think of that earlier?
I don't know. We should have. And there's the audio version is somewhere cooking along in the Ethernet. I'm not sure where.
Yeah, they've made promises that they may or may not be able to keep, but we'll be pretty excited if 10 days from now that book is up for sale.
Doug and I have a bet going, as you might imagine, because the form letters that we have gotten over the course of the years go, oh, this is a 10-day process if you don't have any issues. And then, 4 months later, we're still looking for what 10 days they were looking at.
That was a 10 days that nobody's ever seen before. 4 months it took one time.
Absolutely. And the audio version is available.
The audio version is the one we're talking about that may be for sale. I
meant to say Kindle version.
Oh, there you go. Kindle version is available. The paperback is available. The hardcover is available, but the waiting time to actually receive it is something like 30 days, they tell me.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we have Doug's book available in so many different formats. I even myself get confused. So bottom line is just log in, get yourself whatever version you want and buy several because your relatives are going to appreciate it when they get to the age. And I'm never going to use this term, but for some reason in the Medicare business, people like to use it. When your relatives go order their silver sneakers.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. We drove out to Mesa and over the weekend, and I'll be hornswoggled if there wasn't a silver search up on all the lighted signs over the interstate.
Oh.
And I've got to think to myself, what, geez, is that what they're going to call me when I wander off the reservation?
We're looking for we're going to use a silver search and a silver chopper, and we're going to drive a silver Corvette.
Yeah. I like the silver GTO that I have in the garage, but
yeah, you guys on the podcast ought to see this thing. It's the most beautiful piece of equipment I have seen in my life. Of course, I'm a GTO man, but that is one good looking set of wheels.
Well, it's going to come out of storage pretty soon because it's time for us to go out and have a couple of Guinnesses.
I know. I'm waiting for that day to come along. Well, guys, we really appreciate you joining us because without you, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun as it is with you. And we're looking forward to seeing you all again next time. But in the meantime, you have just spent about 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the anti-insurance insurance guy, looking to send his yacht to the next destination.
Bye-bye.